Are some people better than other people? That's a morbid question, but it's one that you sort of got to ask, because you look around and some people seem to really have a lot going on, and the rest of us, maybe we don't. But the answer is no. Nobody's better than anybody else, and the reason is that divinity is the same in the largest and the smallest things. And Swedenborg gives you the mechanism for that, or the reasons behind it, the formula behind it, and what we're about to read. But let's unpack that initial question a little bit first. Because isn't religion or spirituality meant to be this, at least a frosting, if not a whole new cake? Okay, I'm already behind. Of connection, of oneness for the human race. Don't people say there's one love, or there's this thing a lot of people are talking about, namaste. And what that means, I've been told, the translation is like the pure light or the divine light in me recognizes that same light in you, and the idea that there's the same light in you as there is in me, that makes us remember, even if we have different opinions, or you're bothering me or I'm bothering you, right? There's the same life in us, and that's supposed to bring us together. But how does that work when you think about, if we have the same life, why are you so awesome and great at everything, and I'm struggling just to function and be alive? That's what we're looking into now. What does it mean that divinity is the same in everyone, and how can this be a way to free us from the hierarchy of talent and ability that can really be crushing to one's self-esteem and crushing to one's picture of the human race and how we're meant to all be loving each other as peers and equals? Okay, let's go. Let's do it. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. You can download the book for free. This is Divine Love and Wisdom, the esoteric, I don't even know what that word means, the philosophical underpinnings of reality as described by Swedenborg. And what I'm hoping this does, if it really is reality, this should clear some things up for us, because we walk around, and forgive me for projecting on that you're dealing with the same things I'm dealing with, but we walk around under assault by negative, draining perceptions. And whether this is, to me, it's all the same. If it's, anger or some kind of jealousy or negativity that comes out, or it's self-deprecating, fearful, it's the same sort of root. It's all based in the competitive world. That are there some people here who have what I want? Are they better than me? Am I better than them? This hierarchy is at the root of this suffering. And if there's actually some kind of reality that can get into the specifics of this and actually break up these things that seem impenetrable, it's just an impenetrable truth that some people are better than others. And how am I ever going to be okay with being a less great part of creation? Is there a truth that can set us free, clear this up, and get us where we need to be? I think so, and maybe we're touching on a bit of it here. Divine Love and Wisdom, scroll down to 78. It does seem as though, and I love this because Swedenborg acknowledges that this stuff is not self-apparent, or that it's not automatically going to be recognized as true because there's this appearance to the contrary. It does seem as though divinity, the one life, the light, were not the same in one person as in another, as though it were different in a wise person than in a simple person, which is a nice way to say it. For example, or different in an elderly one than in a child. So if I'm feeling like, why I go and watch these people that they know how to talk real good, they're doing amazing things, their life is so together, where did I get the short end of the stick here? How does that work? Or, even the difference, as we go through life. Is it really that there's just people cut from a different cloth? This is just a deceptive way things seem, though. That's not really how it is. The person may be different, but the divinity within is not, okay? There's a distinction. I don't really know what that distinction means yet. Read on. The person is a receiver, and the receiver or vessel will differ. A wise person is a more adequate receiver of divine love and wisdom than a simple one, and therefore a fuller receiver. To me, we just hit the headline here. Like, it deserves the purple treatment. And to you, this may not have much emotional impact. Let me let you know how I see this, and you can decide for yourself if it means anything. It can feel like, when we look out into the world, that, let's say this, you have some people who are like Albert Einstein or Joan of Arc or whoever, some artist or something that you look up at and say, this person is just so much greater. There's that person there, and then there's me. for whatever this distinction is, morality, ability, popularity, whatever it is. Some people are just so on a different success. Some people are on such a different tier than us. Or maybe you're struggling from the other side. You feel like, why am I so awesome? And I have trouble seeing other people as great as compared to me. But that's not how it is. This is not actually the way that human beings are. Everybody is the exact same size. And you'll understand why I'm drawing us as these weird extended Ys in a second. Everybody's the same size. Einstein and us are the same. The difference is just that we're receiving more or less of the divine. That the actual ability, the thing that we seem to see and recognize and admire and want to follow. Look at that sun. God is a real flattened sun here. I'm not sure if God's branding department would be happy with this. The stuff that we admire in people, the stuff that we gravitate towards and respect and are moved by and that change the world, that the credit for that is God. That all ability, all life, everything that we actually love and admire, that's God's. God is the infinite uncreated. God is ability. We receive life from God. And the difference you see in the ways that people are in the world, it actually could be visualized like this. So if we have these little points of reception for divine love and wisdom, nobody is created with an inability or without the potential to be a complete, full receptor of divine love and wisdom. God has it in mind and heart to have every one of us as open as possible. The issue is, how much of this has been opened up. So let's say that you have like an Einstein. I don't know if Einstein is a good example. You have somebody really great who maybe only has a couple of blocks. And that God, and by the way, this is not because of something intrinsic to them, this is because of something intrinsic to providence. That God has been able to open things up so that you've got the divine able to connect at most all these points. And because of that, you get this great output of divinity into the world. This is not a very flattering picture of a person, but so it is. And with somebody who you would think, that person just has so much less capacity or less is going on. The difference is there's just more blocks. The receptors are there, but they're just not all activated. So you only get a few points of entry in here. And as such, the latent potential is there, the same as this one. But, I judge you. So you just get the impact into the world is different from an external perspective or whatever. To me, thinking about this like this instantly changes what's the real thing, what's the real story going on here? Oh, look at that. The real story is the divine, and that what comes out and showers us in the world, if we're all these people here who are downstream on the effects of what both of these people bring into the world, it's really the yellow that's making everything move here. It's not about venerating this person and worshiping them or dismissing this person. The whole point of everything is the effects that letting the divine into the world bring. To me, this changes this hierarchy thing. If before the story was which people are great and the greatest joy in the world is being better than the other people, then you're permanently trapped in a miserable world. You may get up on top for a little while, but then as soon as you're there and somebody else seems to be a little higher, then you feel like you're falling. It hasn't worked for me. The happiness from that hasn't worked for me. If it's working for you, okay. But I'll see you soon when it stops working for you. So, if instead the point is not hierarchy, because there's not really hierarchy, the actual source is God. If we're all basically we're all students in a class and God is this amazing professor, that's where the real talent and the real ability is. And we are actually cooperative in trying to bring that, whatever that is, divinity, out into the world. That changes it. If it doesn't change for you, then sorry about that whole drawing thing. But it gets more intense. Oh, right. An elderly and wise individual is more receptive than a child or youth. Still, divinity is the same in the one as in the other. Outward appearances, here we go. If that wasn't enough, that was just some weird sort of psychological comparison. We want something more controversial. We want something more weird and spiritual-esque. I heard you, I hear you, and we will give it to you right now. Outward appearance also gives rise to the illusion that divinity is different in heaven's angels than it is in people on earth, because heaven's angels enjoy indescribable wisdom, and we do not. However, this apparent difference is in the subjects and depends on their openness to divinity. It's not in the Lord. Angels. If anybody is just in a different world, and I'm talking about the angels people may be familiar with from spiritual experiences, let alone the way Swedenborg describes what they can do, let alone their place in the cultural psyche. But actually, what's an angel? An angel is just this thing completely opened up. Swedenborg talks about these different levels of heaven, and some people may say, why are there some angels who are better than others? They're not. They're just some angels who are out of the way of God. And so God, shooting sunbeams over here, is able to plug into every single part, and what you get downstream from that is almost like if you think of an angel as a piece of glass that is getting to be almost completely transparent rather than just a translucency you may see from here. What we are getting down here is the complete experience of divinity. Put through the particular person, right? That God is going to be like a prism, shining different parts of that divinity through each person, but each part is equally great. I'm not trying to say that everybody is ultimately the same or is non-existent. This is very much part of the system that we all could, I'd be a fool to say there's not a difference in personality or the difference in the kind of impact, but you can see that there can be things that are very distinct, but you think they're each equally good. And I think that there's the potential in everyone to be equally good. I think about, I used to be a musician, and you can go and I would play at little coffee houses and play singer-songwriting songs, and you could be there, and there's quite a number of people that are coming up and they want to play they all have their own vibe and their own music, and they wrote their own kind of songs and they have their own style, and you really could, at certain points, you could see a number of people that you feel like, oh, I wouldn't really even say this one's better than that one. They're just different, but they've all got their vibe. But there's a lot of people in the world who wouldn't even ever want to get up on that stage or feel like they could do anything musical. I think in the end, we're all different, but we all can sing. If you get my metaphor, that we all get to a point where we are putting out something that is valuable, and God is continually trying to pull us up. We all have that potential to do it. It's about getting God to work in and through. To me, that's profound. If it's not profound to you, you've already clicked away, so I don't need to apologize. We may also use heaven and an individual angel. Okay, if that wasn't enough, you're feeling like there's still nothing here that's weird or off the beaten path enough. Let's take another hard right, hard left. We may also use heaven and an individual angel to illustrate the fact that divinity is the same in the largest and the smallest things. Divinity in the whole heaven and divinity in an individual angel is the same. This is why all heaven can be seen as a single angel. We're no longer in the realm of kumbaya, everybody's just as good as everybody else. Now we're talking about this very out there holographic scaling of the divine, that you can have heaven, which is this collection of, you remember our opened up little Venus flytrap there. There's a bunch of those, and they're in all kinds of different areas with all kinds of different specialties, and there's so many of them, but they are able to be brought together into a form that functions with the tightness and the interdependence and the efficiency of the human form. Dun, 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 dun. So they function together like a person. And Swedenborg is saying that the soul in that person, like if you could get to this scale where you could step back far enough that you can see heaven as a single person and somehow interact with it, which is something that we can't do. Only God can really do that. But that the divinity you would interact with there is the same in that as it is in a single person. So not just that I have the same light in me that you have in you, but the light in the aggregate of all human race you can find in me as well. The same holds true for the church and for the individual member of it. The largest entity in which divinity is present is all of heaven and the whole church together. You've got divinity in the spiritual world and divinity wherever it shows up in the physical world. The smallest is in an individual angel or an individual member of the church, but it's the same brand. It's God's. You can find the same quality in a single person that you can find in the whole, because you get it to the point where you are touching this, that God is infinitely diverse, but has this coherence, that it's this balance of love, infinite love and wisdom that we can start to see pop out in people. And that this is really the common ground that we have, this is why you can be moved and feel close to somebody that you don't really know, but you so connect with or respect or resonate with the message that they're putting out. But there's like this instant connection across cultures or whatever. Once you get down to the meaning, this is why there's that connection, because you're seeing this thing that's the common life to all of us emanating from this person, particularly when they're going after what's good and what's true. On one occasion, I have seen a whole heavenly community as a single angelic person. Not all of heaven, like we drew in this dot angel here, but down on the smaller scale, each community of angels appears as a little person, and you can see that like that. And I've been told that this may look like an immense, gigantic individual or like a little childlike one. This is because divinity is the same in the largest and smallest things. Higher and deeper, it doesn't matter. Divine is non-spatial, so you can it's accurate to represent a whole community as this giant person or as this little kid, because those are both showing aspects of the same divinity. Divinity is also the same in the largest and smallest of inanimate created things. Okay, the other stuff still wasn't enough. It still wasn't technical enough. It still wasn't novel enough. How about this? Let's just try this one. You guys are hard to please today. Divinity is also the same in the largest and smallest of inanimate created things. Somehow, your toothbrush can participate in that same divinity. It's actually present. How? How's your toothbrush? He's just saying that. It just sounds good. There's no specific way that you can put that into the same system we were just talking about. It is actually present in every benefit of the function that they serve. It's not necessarily that you can find that same divinity in the handle of your toothbrush or in the bristles, but you find it in clean teeth. And what clean teeth allow us to do in life, and how it impacts our consciousness, and how dental health and the eating that leads to allows us to function in a way in which we can serve the common good. There you find, in the function of the toothbrush, this effort towards a loving, happy heaven for everyone. That's the same divinity. God is in your toothbrush. The reason they are not alive is that they are forms. Why isn't everything alive? Why isn't a toothbrush alive? The reason they are not alive is that they are forms of functions rather than forms of life. So there's a distinction there. And the form will vary depending on the benefit of the function. Toothbrush is there to do one particular thing. We as forms of life are here to directly receive God on a much broader, deeper, permanent scale. I'll be explaining how divinity is present in them later when we get to the subject of creation. This is the wonder of Swedenborg's books. You could download this for free right now. Go read all about that. It's there. It's just for the taking. Here's the answers to all this incredible stuff. Take away space and absolutely rule out vacuum. So, don't think of distance, and don't think of that there could be nothing somewhere. And then think about divine love and wisdom as ultimate essence. Once space has been taken away and vacuum has been ruled out. This is a little mental exercise for us. Picture that it doesn't matter. There's no space. There's no distance in between things. And then, are you closing your eyes? Okay, close your eyes. Then picture that there's no such thing as nothing. Do you just get this sense spilling into your mind of a pervasive some divinity everywhere, that in experience itself, there's an element of this? I think I do. How would I know? Then think in terms of space and you will see that divinity is the same in the largest and the smallest instances of space. That if you zoom, this actually does feel like it's tangibly clear to me. Like if you zoom in on something with a microscope, and you can see in your field of vision something that would be very small, but once you get to the point where you can see it, like you see something in the macroscopic world, being there, just looking at the variation in objects and where things are and where they aren't, the stuff you observe of the macro world all the time, it feels like you're in the same place. Oh yeah, I'm here. That if I was shrunk down to this size, I would still be me, and this would still be somewhere. That is maintained across space. Divinity is there. And that feeling of, oh, I'm here, and there's some sort of familiarity with this, that's the divinity. That's the underlying love and wisdom that lets us be conscious and experience a space. Once you remove space from essence, there's no large or small. It is all the same. Sounds like Yoda. So that principle that we see echoing down from the way there's life in you and I, and what we're striving to open up towards, then leads us into heaven, and why all of heaven is the same in some way as what's in us and what we're striving towards. That gets down into why there's the difference between living things and non-living objects, but yet they're united along this continuum of usefulness toward the ultimate goal, which is this heaven of yellow dots here. That principle, all that comes out of, or those principles all come out of divinity being the same in the largest and smallest things. And what it means to me is a way to escape this hierarchy and realize that the game in town here, what we're working towards is let divinity do its work. And this is a cooperative game. You'd think of the difference between a cooperative and a competitive board game. The competitive board game is, what are you trying to do? The point is, can we see who's the best and who's the luckiest or whatever, which is a lot of what life is. That's and the promise of there's happiness if you get to be the best. Whereas if you play a cooperative board game, you're trying to accomplish something. If we can all accomplish this thing together, then we have happiness. And that is what this promise of divinity being the same in the largest and smallest things is that there's something there that can solve all of life's problems and give us the longings of our hearts and create this amazing future where life is this thing that you'd never want to not be doing, and that gets better and better and fulfills all the deep, I already said deepest longings, but that's really what it's about, of the heart, there is a project management system that is the divine. We can be working towards that. That's awesome. And that's much better than what it was before, which is some people are better than others. But no, what's better is the goals and aims of divinity. And let's get going and do that. That's better than us working against it. That's the news from heaven. Did you like it? Did you have fun? Well, let me know. How am I ever going to know unless you leave a comment right now, like and subscribe, and when you're commenting, let me know how this idea impacted you. How does it apply? And how can you take it and make it something that does dispel these dark clouds? This is fun. We can only do this if you support us. otlemonthly.causevox.com allows you to regularly contribute to support this, and we are going to regularly put out content like this. Thanks so much for letting us talk through this, and I hope that this idea gets into your files, and at some point, maybe soon, maybe later, comes out and does something good for you. Because that's the coolest thing about concepts, is their ability to help. Of course, it's like a toothbrush for the mind. Okay, that's a great note to end on. See ya.